Little Pixel.
Promos have always been around in popular medias, though not as frequent as it's seen today. Now back in the NES days, I remember seeing in-game ads for things such as Pizza Hut, beverages, and sometimes even musical artists. But you never really saw an entire game dedicated to specific pieces of promotional wear. And such is the case for today's video, where we'll be discussing Drac's Night Out featuring the Reebok Pumps. The Reebok Pumps were an athletic basketball shoe which used a special inflatable chamber that pumped air in for a specific fit. Basketball players from the late 80s and 90s era, such as Dominique Wilkins and Shaquille O'Neal, were the ones that really made the shoe popular with campaign ads and signature shoes. Now, Drac's Night Out was a game for the NES developed by Mark Lesser and Rex Bradford of the studio Microsmiths. Now, interestingly enough, the game was never meant to be a Reebok Pump promotional game, but I'll get into that a little later on. Mark Lesser is an electrical engineer who obtained his degree from MIT. After college, he landed a job at Rockwell for the microelectronics division, by which Mattel then approached Rockwell with the ambitions of turning a calculator into a handheld gaming device. Lesser was then involved in the production of a few early handheld games such as Mattel's Auto Race, Baseball, and Brain Baffler. After gaining experience with Rockwell and Mattel, Lesser went on vacation, and as he returned, he saw an ad from Parker Brothers looking for an associate to come on board developing electronic games. Lesser applied for the gig and landed the job. And Rex Bradford was the then president of Microsmith, who also has and still continues to grow his experience in the video game industry, with the most recent being Red Dead Redemption for the PS3, and going as far back as Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back for the Atari in 1982. There were actually a few games that Lesser completed but were never released, one of which was Drac's Night Out, which Parker Brothers published. Now, I remember the first time I ever heard about this game was in an AVGN video that I saw way back in the day. He quickly mentions Drac's Night Out but doesn't really go deep into the game's mechanics or levels. Now, what intrigued me the most was the fact that he stated this game was unreleased, and so I dug up more information myself. Drac's Night Out put the players in control of a cartoonish looking Dracula, all while navigating his castle and avoiding raiding villagers in order to get to the maiden Mina and suck her blood before sunrise. Now, this could be accomplished by hypnotizing the villagers with your gaze, or by pulling a lever to unlock hidden traps. Once the villagers are stunned, Dracula can then suck their blood and turn into a bat to go through the level much quicker. The idea of the Reebok Pump serves as a power-up in this game, which are placed throughout the levels. The power-up allows Dracula to run much faster and even jump over the enemies and obstacles, making the game much easier. Drac's Night Out takes you not only to Dracula's castle, but also out to patrolling the towns to find hints, compasses, and maps from the villagers in order to find Mina. Now, these maps are actually very large. A lot of people who have seen the gameplay of Drac's Night Out rarely see this side of the game. It's much different from the rest as it's a top-down view and you can actually go inside some of the houses and shops in a Zelda type fashion. Now, what makes this game so exciting to play is each time it changes Mina's location, giving it a higher replayability rate. Now, after sucking enough blood, the game allows you to transform into a werewolf during this phase of the game and move through the larger map even quicker. Now, you're also given the ability to suck blood of sleeping villagers that will transform into vampiresses and will point you to the right direction to find Mina. Some villagers drop items like keys and clovers, which are used to open gates, traps, and other homes. You can also travel through secret underground shortcuts. Now, once you discover the building where Mina is being held, a stat screen of your time and amount of people whose blood you sucked will appear that leads to the next round. The game has a total of 5 rounds to complete, each a bit more complex and difficult than the next. Now, if this game would have gotten a bit more attention, it could have been very popular and kind of fun. The idea of playing a scavenger hunt of sorts makes it really interesting. Now, unfortunately, once you complete round 5 of the game, it tells you the game's over, but that's it, not even an end screen. This is probably due to the fact that the game was never released. I'm sure the finished product would have given us a little more due to the amount of attention the rest of the game was given. Going back to what I mentioned previously, this game wasn't meant to be a sponsored promotional game of sorts, but rather the idea was brought up during late production. Mark Lesser was quoting as saying, "We developed this game as consultants to Parker Brothers. As we neared completion of the game, Parker Brothers insisted that we include Reebok as a sponsor of the game by having Dracula wearing Reebok pump shoes. Reluctantly, we complied, but the sponsorship was not enough to save the game, and although completed, it was never marketed." In a separate interview, when Mark Lesser was asked why Drac's Night Out was not released, he stated, "The marketing decisions were rarely accompanied by believable explanations, so I don't really know what happened." Now, due to his response, it was rumored that the reason for the game's shelving was due to funds. I think it's interesting to see what the game would have put instead of the Reebok pumps had that suggestion not been made by Parker Brothers. It's important for me to reiterate the fact that this game was complete. Now, thankfully, a prototype has since been discovered and its ROMs data was dumped onto the internet. Now, even better, reproduction NES cartridges of this game do exist, though a little on the pricey side and a bit difficult to find. But that is what we know of Drac's Night Out. Thank you guys for watching. Check out some of our other videos if you like. And don't forget to follow us on social media, check out our Patreon, and give us any suggestions for any future videos. And I'll catch you all next time.